Welcome everybody to our New Dimensions workshop. I'm Mark Lockridge, and I'm very privileged to be here with you guys today. We've had a lot of people working hard to put this together. I'm hoping that a lot of you in the workshop here have your kits. Yes, did you receive those kits? Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be dreaming bold futures together today as we learn about augmented reality and brainstorm our own ideas for what could transpire with augmented reality. And we have a number of people who have helped us on this journey, and we'll introduce them along the way. But I definitely want to call out first to Mr. Bao Jones, who, can you share a little bit about yourself, Bao?
Hi, I'm Bao Jones, and I made one of the projects that we'll be showcasing today, and I'm in 9th grade. I'm new to Punahou this year, and my interest in like science and physics kind of helped to inspire this project.
Excellent, thank you. So I think what we'll do so that we can maximize how we share together, rather than filling the screen with slides, I'm going to throw the slide deck into the chat, and then you guys can open it in a separate browser if you like, or pipe up if you'd prefer that I make the slides go full screen. But it's really about all of us working together and throwing around ideas, playing with some of the cool augmented reality that our students and fellow faculty have helped design. And then it's what you all are interested in, what new directions could we take it. So here, I hope you'll be able to access the slides this way. Can someone confirm for me, Gerard or Gabriel or Bao, that you're able to view the slides?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so I think that most of us who are in here have the kit, and it's going to be very useful as we start exploring stuff. I should give an overview. Let's see if folks are popping in. Yeah, I see people popping in on the deck. I might just go back to the slides for a moment. So I'll hop in and out of sharing slide deck, and then jumping back to all of us viewing together. So let's just take a look what we have here. So what we're going to look to do today in our hands-on workshop is first get a taste test of augmented reality. So I'm very happy to say that we were able to publish our app that all these students and faculty and others have been working hard on. So it is now available in the Apple App Store, and we want you guys to download that and start sampling some of those things. So we'll start there, and then we're going to do a deeper dive where we talk about, well, what is augmented reality, and what's virtual reality? What's good to do in one of those and better to do in another, and how do you make it? And that's where we're going to hear again from Bao Jones, who went from just being curious about it to creating a really great app, and he's got cool visions for where it can go in the future. And his work is featured in the kit, so he'll lead us through that. And then finally, in our third phase, there's actually a hidden fourth phase as well, another dimension. But the third phase is your turn, where we want to brainstorm new uses that interest you. But we also, we have some of the folks who are gathered here who've been taking augmented reality in new directions, and we'll hear from them as well. Gabriel and Mr. Taryn Loveman, and some of these things fit in, are part of your kit as well. So I'll stop that sharing again. And now what I'd like to do is invite you guys to download the app if you haven't already. So the app is called Punahou Ar Sampler. And so you can go to the App Store. Now you're getting to see my broken glass iPhone. And you just type in Punahou Ar Sampler, and it should pop up. Looks like this, folks. Do you see that? And it's giving you a little preview of what we're going to be playing with. So it's going to take us a moment to do that. If you have, Greg Lippert saying it works for you. Great, thank you. And so I'm hoping that everybody's going to thumbs up on being able to download that app. It might take a moment on Wi-Fi to do. So we also have it available, thank you, Gerard, in Android. And so, Gerard, would you mind throwing into the chat that link as well? if it's helpful, oh, look, Benjamin Mounts is already playing with it, I think, right? What, you got the shark going? And folks, feel free to unmute. What's that?
I got the shark and trying out the rocket next.
Okay, excellent. So those first two in the menu, when you launch your app, those are experiences that you can, so you're going to have a menu that looks like this. It's kind of strange. You get to see me twice. Look at that. That's a little weird. Someone should do a screen grab of that. But so here's your menu, and we want you to play with sharks and rockets, okay? Because those don't require triggers. And I think, Bao, maybe you can share when you're going to be sharing your work, what triggers are and how that happens and that kind of a thing. Okay, but for now, I think let's have some fun with the sharks. So Miss Kathy Au, it looks like you got something going? Nice, I got a good thumbs up from you. So what I love about these sharks is it's like a fun way to do a safari, right? So let's start imagining. What's the name of the app? Oh, the name of the app. Actually, Malia, are you with us? Could you paste in, or maybe I can find the App Store listing. But the name of the app is Punahou Ar Sampler. Okay, so I'm going to put it in there. Punahou Ar Sampler. That's it. The full name right there. Okay, yeah, and you know. Oh, look, Jeannie Lindgren's having fun. She sees sharks. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys are getting ideas, and I hope you have sticky notes, or you're just going to write on your own arms or whatever it is, the ideas that you get. Because when you first encounter this is when your mind is freshest, and it'll give you thoughts for like, well, I could do a safari through a rainforest right in the classroom. I could reach out to every family in the state with these sharks, all about, you know, what are their habits? How can we help protect them? That sort of a thing. I don't know. There's probably other ideas. Oh, look there. Gabriel's got a really great shark going. So if you're having trouble with the app, we've got a lot of experts in with us, and they can help. Oh, is there a direct link to the Android app? Yes, there is. So Gerard, could you please throw that into the chat? I would. Yeah, there it is. Malia just shared it. And so if we don't get to you in time with, feel free to chime in with voice as well as chat. Doesn't matter to us. The app keeps crashing for Faye. We'd love to hear about it. Are you on an Apple device, or are you in Android? But maybe that can be a conversation you continue with Gerard. I think he'll be eager to hear about that. Okay, yeah, so but there's a caveat here. This is just fresh off the griddle. Like literally, we've got it into the App Store last week. So they're all prototypes. So it's not a finished full product. It's a sampler. So yeah, we're going to have some different issues, and there's going to be. We'd love to get your feedback. Consider this a focus group too, where you guys can say, "Ooh, this is nice, but could be better with this or that." All right. So the rocket. Who wants to mention about the rocket? Gerard, you could pipe in on that. Do you want to?
The rocket. I mean, you'll do a much better job, better job than me. So the goal of the rocket, I mean, just try that. So just play with that, and don't forget to look up. So you're all inside, so it will be weird because you don't launch a rocket from inside of your home or a room. The rocket is kind of pretty big. It's like something like more than 50 meters high.
Time out. Look, Jeannie has it already launched into space. She's looking up, right, Jeannie? Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Gerard, or I can fill in.
So if you look up, you'll see that the rocket is pretty big, something like 50 meters high. So this is why it's getting before launching, it's getting a bit farther from you, something like 20 meters from you, so that you have a better view. But when you look up, you'll see that it's pretty big. So it's mostly, you'll see that it's mostly particles, things like that. I mean, it's very exciting how special effects work well now these days on small devices like phones.
Lorraine, I like your shark. What are you thinking? How does it strike you? Please pipe up.
Cool, really cool.
Excellent. Kathy, is it giving you any ideas like how you might want to use this sort of a technology? What would you make?
I'm a botanical artist and I do digital botanical art. So I like the idea of visiting endangered plants. So I'm kind of looking at some of these technologies as a possibility.
Ooh, we would love to collaborate with you. Throw thoughts into the chat. Everybody, please, we are out to collaborate. So, and I think like Miss Jeannie Lindgren is the queen of collaboration. So, and look what comes to your mind, Jeannie, as you see these things? How do you want to use it?
Well, of course, I'm totally pumped for the rocket and thinking about my Mars habitat simulation.
Ooh,
So,
can you share that a little bit with people? What you do? I think it's so cool.
We haven't had a chance to do it in a couple years, pandemic cause, but it's a simulation where we build 4 massive HABs out of PVC pipe and zip ties, and we pretend like we're on Mars, and I stay in the classroom in mission control, and the kids are out doing different labs. So anything that can simulate that experience is going to be fab.
That's really great. Yep. So this is a really good segue, Jeannie, and I want to hear from everybody, and we'll get to everybody, but just because she just said some great things. Part of our presentation is, we want to start getting into what is augmented reality and what is virtual reality? What can they do? What is each one best at? And rather than me talking all the time, we've got people who've already been getting into it. How about you, Bao? Would you be willing to pop up and give your thought of what AR or augmented reality is versus VR, virtual reality? And it'll relate to what Jeannie was saying, the different uses. We'll get back to that. Go for it, Bao.
Well, VR is different in the sense that everything is virtual. So you might put on like a VR headset or use your phone and some sort of cardboard headset. Google has something like that. And it can simulate your surroundings. And basically you can move around to a certain extent. You just have to be careful of the confines of your space. Whereas AR is a little bit more accessible because it will overlay sort of like VR objects into the real world. So you might have like the rocket ship, for example. You could see that in VR in like a simulated landscape, or in AR, you just have the rocket ship in your room. So there's different applications for both of them. VR might be for certain aspects and AR might be for other things.
That's an excellent description. Gabriel, is there anything you want to add to it? Being a gentleman who teaches augmented reality and who's going to be introducing the next 100 students at Punahou to that
that'll be interesting. Yeah, so like you said, you covered the most of it. Virtual reality, you are placing yourself in three-dimensional space in a preset world. With augmented reality, you're trying to track points all the way around you and use that data to correlate and like place objects in the world. So like as you saw with the shark, as you move the character, you'll be able to see it around you and it would track it pretty well to whichever way you're facing in the area around you.
Okay, thank you. That's a wonderful description. So now let's apply it to that scenario that Jeannie was talking about. And maybe this is something that we get funded to build out. So with virtual reality, let's say that you have let's start off, like the students are in the habitat that is made with PVC pipe and stretched fabric. And so they're inside on the Punahou campus in this Mars habitat, and they've got to figure out these problems that are happening in real time. So it's like role play and science learning and all that kind of a thing, as well as social emotional, how's everybody get along? So then it's time to do a mission outside. If you put on a helmet and it's got a display on the inside, it might be just like it was Bao you were mentioning, it could be like Google Cardboard. And guys, throw more thoughts into the chat for how we could do this. And Taryn, chime in. But so you put it on and then you're doing your walk on the surface of Mars, and what you're seeing is all virtual reality Mars, taking data from NASA. That'd be super awesome, I think. But the first part of the curriculum, Jeannie, could be where before everybody gets to the Mars habitat, the literal ones that they've helped construct at the start of the course, where they then have the rest of their science classes inside. But we could start with a massive rocket launch, the Punahou X, like we just saw. And that could be really a fun group thing, and just like seeing it go up virtually and you're standing out on the lawn. So those are two different uses of the augmented and the virtual reality. What do you think, Jeannie?
I'm in. I'm only starting to process all the possibilities, but I love it. And it just enhances so much what we're aiming for, which is to have them in the role of the explorer.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and we all get to explore this new dimension. I think it's really a generational opportunity here for all of us, in just people alive today with where we are with this new technology that's unfolding. We literally get to bring a new dimension to anything you enjoy doing, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Is like thinking, what are some of the things that I like to do, and how could I augment that? And I'm already seeing some really great ones in the chat here. Like hiking and whatnot. Taryn, do you want to tease out some of the themes that you're seeing in there and some of the ideas that you've had in the past?
Sure. So I think
and introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry.
I forgot to have people introduce themselves.
No problem. I'm Taryn Lubman, the Director of Design, Technology, and Engineering, and I've been working a lot with Mark on a whole range of exciting applications of AR, VR at the school. And so all this stuff is super exciting. I think there's so much opportunity in this field. One thing I think when people think about virtual reality and augmented reality, they get sort of drawn into the tech spiral, where it's all just about the coding and the tech. And they forget that it could be a very humanizing technology and a very human connection. And so I think, like, for example, with the virtual reality, I have dreams of kids entering into either classroom spaces or actually simulated cultural spaces with kids from around the world, and having joint lessons where they're not actually interacting with, where there's live kids interacting together in a virtual space. An example I know Mark's heard me give before would be in a language class where a group of kids are walking through pathways in a Spanish city together. Maybe the goal there is learning Spanish for one side, but there's also historical and cultural goals. And so you could have live kids on the other end, guiding kids on the other side. And you're just really telling kids, like, go to the store and buy a loaf of bread. But all of a sudden that becomes an incredible immersion, Spanish activity. So, and they're immersed, and they're with genuine people doing genuine things that you couldn't otherwise do without this technology. So I think it's super exciting to think also about the human connection that can happen here and the cultural connection that can happen.
Fantastic point. And you just brought in a whole, there's all kinds of ways for our minds to pop with the, and expand with the possibilities here. So one of them is, where people are in different locations, as we are now, but they have a shared space. And that shared space could be walking the streets of Paris, like Taryn was saying, and we have a cultural experience together. And that could be immersive virtual reality, where we're just totally surrounded. Or with Jeannie Lindgren's mission to Mars, where we can have kids across the world. And I've talked with the Kennedy Center about doing this, and they're interested. So we just need students like Bao to get cracking with us, where we run missions where the kids, wherever they are in the world, put on the gear, and then they're flying the mission. And then, Jeannie's designed some really great emergencies that pop up, and you've got to collaborate with kids from China, kids from France, and get this international mission on track. And you're learning your curriculum as you go. So that, I feel, is an interesting revolution. There's so many revolutions to be had here, but what have we done with that? With that, we turn learning into immersive adventure, and there will not be any coming back from that. It's going to be fabulous. Does anybody have a thought they want to add into this right now? We've got lots of other dimensions to explore. Just chime in. There's chat, there's pipe up with your voice. So Benjamin Mounts, yes, so having taught earth science, spatial concepts like moon phases and eclipses can be hard to visualize, but creating working AR models, ooh, that's going after Bao's heart. He did something like that. Even better if students do the creating to demonstrate their understanding. Yes, yes, Benjamin. So Bao, do you want to speak to that briefly?
Yeah, that's a cool idea. did probably about 6 months ago, I made sort of like a model of the solar system in AR. So you'd have like a little trigger and you could hold in your hand and you would have all the different, the outer planets, the gas giants and the terrestrial planets, and they would orbit and you could toggle them on and off. And they had little factoids about each of them, some information about how long the orbit is, rotation periods, things like that, and some little facts. And I tried to get the scale distances and things, but because it's such large scales, it's kind of hard. It'd be like a couple miles away if it was to scale.
Yeah.
But there's some interesting applications with that, especially with the moon, because that would be a lot easier because it's a smaller scale.
Yeah, and it's more immediately relevant to us because of its proximity. What can I ask you? What application you used?
Oh, I was just using Unity because I was doing it through a class and it was all about Unity and augmented reality. So yeah, just Unity.
I was trying to do something similar using Apple's Reality Composer, and I was running into some hiccups, but I'd be curious to find out how you solved some of the issues that I ran.
Ooh, Reality
I've never
Composer.
used that, but
Yeah,
Unity
tell us about
works pretty
that.
well.
Benjamin, yeah.
Yeah, it's somebody's calling me. I'm sorry.
Okay, we can come back to you if it's good.
No,
or
I got it.
Okay.
They can wait. Reality Composer is an app by Apple, and it's free, and it basically lets you create shapes. There's a lot of shapes that are already kind of in their library right there, but there are some physics-based, I guess, what's the word? Relationships that you can apply. Like if you apply a force to an object, it will collide with others, and you can have things orbit other. I mean, I'm still kind of just scratching the surface of it, but there's not just shapes, but there is interactivity between the shapes, and you can apply a lot of, like I said, physics-based rules, and so it's got a lot of potential.
Excellent. So I wanted to share with you guys something that our fifth graders have been doing, and I think this will blow your mind in a new direction. So let me share the share screen.
Well, Mark's sharing that, I want to throw in there, some people may be wondering, like, how realistic is all of this with kids? And I want you to know, like, we ran an after school program just this past year at Punahou. The kids were able in a very short time to be able to be programming in Unity, programming simulations in Unity. So it's something we're able to do now. This is a now thing.
All right, I hope you guys can see what I have here, but there's a lovely video that goes along with this. So these kids have designed in 3D to be 3D printed Hawaiian corals. And they made them so they work with Legos. So you can take these 3D printed objects, these corals, and snap them onto a Lego set, and you can build your own Hawaiian reef ecosystem. So when I saw that, my first thought was awesome. And then my second thought was sharks and fish and all the other things. So imagine these playful invention kits created by our students, maybe with the bioplastic that one of our grads he's now located at the Bishop Museum with the air station, where they collect plastic out of the ocean, and then they can heat it up and inject it into the molds. And so we make these molds with reclaimed plastic that we pull out of the ocean, and they're education kits that we then take out, maybe in partnership to Malama Manalua that does this sort of educational outreach. And so as the kids snap together the play set of a Hawaiian ecosystem, they can use the augmented reality to explore and find some of these species that come to life in photorealism. And this is work that our kids and other members of the community, maybe we work with Benjamin, create to share back with the community. I just feel, and back to Taryn's point, where it's the people to people connection. We want everybody learning how to develop these really great experiences. And what does that do for us as a community? I want to see us be a major educational exporter of the coolest and greatest ways to discover your passion in life. So I'm going to go back to Kathy Au, let's do the botany. Let's bring it to life in new ways. imagine a scavenger hunt in your classroom, and each kid has got their little mobile phone, and and it's like, hey, we're doing a scavenger hunt. You got to go find all the endemics before they disappear. And so it's like one person goes over to this part of the room, another goes that part. Hey, I found this, I found that. So they're in a collaborative, augmented reality space where it's magical and yet rooted in them together, collaborating. I don't know, Marufa, is that how you say it? You seem like you're smiling. It seems like you like it. So what do you think?
Yes, I'm learning a lot from this conference. We are designing like astronaut training program where we can select students and professionals for 2 to 4 weeks training, because I completed few trainings.
Wow, let's hear more about that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so we could inspire our young, talented genius, and because they are pretty smart. And currently we are designing one project to build a microwave-sized greenhouse. And the name of the project is Digital STEM Engagement in Hawaii and International Space Station. So we can design a small microwave-sized greenhouse and talk with astronauts what they're growing in the space station versus what we are growing here on Earth.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think Jeannie is probably going to want to connect with you. Maybe you guys connect and chat, and let's grow resources together on that. I think there's all kinds of ways. So we can mix like you getting to make real experiments, just like the astronauts are doing, and then you're talking with them live, and then you've also got your augmentation of what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
That just gave me another thought. Jeannie, what if you just spilled out the tools that people are supposed to use, and you don't give them any explicit instruction? They just got to figure out, thrive to survive. But the AR gives a heads up display, a HUD on what each tool, the secrets of using the tool, and then they just figure it out together. That could be an interesting way to flip the classroom, right, folks? Malia, do you see some themes in the chat we want to tease out? And then I have a direction I want to steer us in while we still have Dr. Kaplan, because he's got a really compelling use for augmented reality as we continue our deep dives here. Dr. Kaplan, are you ready for that?
Yeah, hey there.
Okay.
Hey there.
Yeah, we hear you. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. So can I introduce with the two triggers we have for first, we'll have you introduce yourself and how you're thinking to use virtual reality and augmented reality, and then maybe we'll do we're going to pull these two triggers from our kit, people. Okay, and then let's just hear a brief introduction from Dr. Kaplan, and then we'll use these. Yeah, pull them on out, folks.
So I'm Aaron Kaplan. I'm a clinical psychologist in Honolulu. I've known Mark for many years now, and we've had some interesting and lively discussions about using virtual reality to apply in a clinical and therapeutic setting. Something that's been done before, and there's been kind of an explosion in this over the last few years, especially as it's easier to create the assets and the hardware has been easier to put together for that. The medical and mental health applications for virtual reality it's just crazy. I mean, there's just so much that you can do with that. And, I won't go into all the different details on ways that it's being applied, because really in a mental health setting, there's been all sorts of applications that it's been applied to. But just even more narrowly, what you and I have talked about, Mark, is using virtual reality for exposure therapy, which is kind of the gold standard and just sort of standard therapy for things like anxiety disorders. Usually in anxiety disorders, you need people to use cognitive and behavioral techniques for approaching things that they are scared of, whether they're airplanes or driving or spiders, or in our case, we're playing around with geckos and insects. And you have them approach these feared stimuli in very structured sort of ways. Well, obviously in real life, there's some limitations to that, right? Because let's say with a flying phobia, you can't just go and get on flights willy-nilly to expose yourself to flights. It's a very low frequency type of thing that one's able to do. So if we can build those kinds of assets and environments in a virtual reality environment, then we really have a lot of control over the therapeutic process. So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
That's an excellent overview. Thank you. And so why don't we try this for ourselves? And I think as a, as a doctor, you say this first prototype is too rough to be used directly in exposure therapy. I think you guys will discover what I mean with this. Why don't we do this experiment, and then we can talk a little bit more about how the stages, Dr. Kaplan, of how you might use virtual reality for exposure therapy. And then let's open it up to like this will give people ideas for new ways. So I know that we have what, like 80 people, 87 people in our workshop, which is wonderful. And that our kits sold out. So 40 of us have the actual kits, but anybody can download the app, and it's in the chat, but maybe Malia, you can share it again, because it could be some people joined later. So there's the app called Punahou Ar Sampler from the Apple App Store. And the first two things are you can do without having the kit of goods that shipped. And so there's also the option to download through the Android. So Greg Lippert saying the Android app leads to a forbidden That might be Punahou blocking you. But so I'm hoping that Gerard, you can help check in the chat for if people are having issues with the download for. Okay, so assuming that that at least 40 of us have these two. Here's what I'd like for you guys to do. You put your gecko, and it's in the instruction kit, in the instruction sheet that came with the kit. Put your gecko on the surface, on the table in front of you, all right? At a little bit of a distance, okay? And fire up your app. What do you see? Can someone tell me what they found? I think, who's having any success here? I see some smiles. Oh, Kathy, she may not like geckos. You pop up in my video close to me. So, oh, and Gabriel's figuring out how to show it. Yeah, so there you can see he's got a gecko on the, that's great, Gabriel. You're really good. That's awesome. So you get like this gecko that's on your sheet of paper. Okay, and you can move it around. And so just think of like how, like, another thing that I like to say is augmented reality, virtual reality can help you go places and do things that are too dangerous, too expensive, or otherwise impossible in time or scale to get to. But this is these are ways to immerse you. So if it's too expensive to go to the Amazon and see some of the beautiful creatures and stuff, maybe we can bring it to life this way. And then we can sort of create a Socratic scenario beyond just a dialogue. It's like, now here's this creature in front of you. Can you, you just ask the right questions and you do direct observation to find out things about the ecosystem and that sort of thing. I think that could be really interesting learning. Don't you think, Benjamin? Do you go by Benjamin or Ben?
So I got to unmute. Ben. Ben is fine.
Ben. All right. Thanks. Okay. So now the next trick, here's your fly. Put the fly on your arm or on your hand, and it's on sticky paper. So you can stick it on your hand, and we try to be careful to get sticky paper that doesn't pull the little hairs out. Gabriel has it on his head, but put it on your hand and then bring it close to the gecko that was on the table. What happens? Is it working for anybody? This is probably a good one to do in pairs, so, we're totally open to people's suggestions here.
Mark, maybe hold up the target image for people that don't have the kit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so smart. Yeah, guys, try this out. Am I yelling too much? I'm so excited. Right. Do you get a gecko jumping in? We can do that for each other. So now I have, it jumped right onto my hand. So what happens, some of you have been able to do it, but what happens is the gecko jumps from its perch, wherever you put it on its, the shadow paper of the gecko on a table. And then you have the fly, something it wants to eat, on your hand or whatever. And once it sees both triggers, it'll jump to your hand. So Dr. Kaplan, why don't we slow down for a moment? And why don't you describe your vision for how you could do exposure therapy without such a big leap right off the bat?
Okay, well, if you want to talk about geckos specifically, so we had this idea originally because I have a few patients with gecko phobia, which, you know, in most places in the world, that's not such a big deal. But here in Hawaii, there's sort of geckos everywhere, and that can cause problems when you don't want to go into, say, your laundry room because there's geckos crawling around, or someplace in your house. And so the idea would be to create progressively more challenging environments to encounter a gecko, and to be in those environments to the point where one's anxiety kind of reaches a peak and is able to come down the other side. So usually the way these things work with exposure therapy is the initial environment might be like, I'm looking at a gecko, the gecko's in a terrarium, I'm all the way on the other side of the room, that gecko can't jump on me and I can't grab the gecko. And then one puts themselves in that situation until they start feeling comfortable there. Then the environments and the assets become more and more challenging. So the next scenario might be, well, you are actually looking at the terrarium close up, or you are standing back, but there are geckos not enclosed within a terrarium. They're walking around, they're on a wall and catching flies. I'm sitting at a table, at an outdoor garden table, and a gecko climbs up the umbrella and starts walking around. And then we can even get to the point where you're actually handling the gecko. The gecko's crawling on your hand. And each one of these are progressively more challenging for most people environments to expose themselves to the phobia. And what happens with anxiety disorders is the more exposure you get, you become more and more desensitized to the fear, and it becomes easier and easier to handle. And so that's sort of it in a nutshell. So a simple phobia like a specific object like a gecko is very easy to create in a virtual environment.
Aaron just shared that a cockroach, that would be a great theme to do too. Maybe we'll do that next.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we don't want to start with the cockroach jumping right onto you, but so I think some folks are having trouble with the Android download. Are you able to help them troubleshoot a little bit, Gerard? Thank you so much for being here.
It's working. It's probably the fourth error is probably something like a barrier, like a firewall, like antivirus, something like that. But the path that Malia gave is the right one, and it works on my side.
Okay, so feel free to private chat with Gerard if you want, or into the general chat. All right, so I'd love to get to one of the stars of our show now. Bao, do you feel ready to lead folks with what you've created and what some of those possibilities are that it opens up?
Sure. So like I said, I did the chemistry cards, which this is like the super beta forms, but you should have, whoever had the kit, you should have 3 cards, and these are the trigger images basically. So just a trigger image is basically something that the AR camera will recognize. So you'll upload it to the project, and basically it is stored, and when it sees this, it has a sort of response. So in this case, when the camera recognizes it, it has a floating atom above it. And you have 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So you can combine them, and when the cards are close enough together, you'll have 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen is water. So you'll have a little water molecule appear. And in the original one, it showed they kind of bonded together, but in this one, we weren't able to do that. So we just have the water itself. But you guys can try that out and see, and then I can continue to talk about some applications in the future for that.
Wonderful. So let's give everybody a moment, and then maybe you can narrate as you go through it yourself and see what happens. But one of the things I love about this, Bao, is sort of the sense of discovery. So you could play with different combinations to find. I'm sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. I gotta play with it. Love it. So I just got a globule of water from experimenting. As thumbs up if anybody else got that. Did you get that going? Yeah. Nice. Kathy, you're right in there with the rest of us. I love it. So that's a great, that just brings to mind lots of things for me, Bao, where you can explore the periodic table. This is an example of one of those things where with just your naked eye, you're not going to be able to get down to the level and see the molecules. But if you can take a magic school bus, remember that, everybody, from childhood or your kid's childhood, the magic school bus. So now we have the opportunity to make the magic school bus excursions into outer space or down to the molecular level, more interactive experiences. And as we know, the more you engage a person in different ways, the more they learn. So I keep coming back to education as a primary way that this technology can revolutionize things. But there's industry after industry, and we'll start brainstorming more broadly on that. But Bao, so tell us a little bit about, like, so how did you do this? Like, did it take a year of your life, or what? Just give us like 3-4 minutes on that, or 2 or 3.
Well, it was a 2.5 weeks it took to prototype the project. It was during, I had a class with Mr. L, and it was like an entrepreneur class. So for the last 2 weeks, we had to sort of create a project. So that was mine. And I had also had a class previously, about a month before, that was solely based around AR. So I took that and I used Unity and kind of prototyped through that. It was a lot of messing around with things, testing and things not working, and a lot of YouTube and Stack Overflow threads, because I had no idea how to code in C# or any of that type of stuff. But that was basically to get it working, and it took a while. I had, like, at one point I had it was just the trigger images, so I just had like the molecule, or sorry, the atom floating above it, and then I added in the ability so that you could move it and it would have like a sort of follow motion, sort of like a natural motion. And then I added, coding to have the atoms move together they were within a certain distance of each other, the cards. And then also, when you brought the card close enough to the camera, the water itself would appear. So there's a bunch of different little things that went into creating it, and there was a few bugs, but I didn't have enough time to work all of it out. But I plan to continue working on getting that project finished, and then I can use that to make other molecules. So, like, NaCl, sodium, some simple things. I think it's a good project for like little kids, just to get an intro to what atoms are and how they bond together to form different molecules and things like that. And there's, like Benjamin mentioned, there's a lot of cool applications for space as well, just to visualize that, because of, it's kind of hard. There's such large objects and distances and things like that. And complicated subjects are sometimes easier grasped when you have like a visual aid to help you, or even a better yet, interactive visual.
That is beautifully said. So, and just to riff on that theme for a moment, and then we'll start our big brainstorming all together, and then we need to get going building our kit, and we'll hear from Mr. Taryn Loveman about the voyaging and the role that the augmented reality and all can play there. But so I work with Hank Rogers, who is a wonderful entrepreneur, and he's founded a company called Immersive Worlds that is a platform that allows you to do this sort of VR immersion. And I see, just going in another direction with what you're talking about, Bao, where you have something complex and it's easier when you can see it together. So Hank and I pitched Disney, and there's interest in when they build a new theme park. If you build, the architects build it in 3D software to get a sense of what it is. But imagine if you take those architectural renderings and you turn them into immersive virtual reality. And if you've got teams all around the world who are collaborating on this, you can do virtual walkthroughs of these giant amusement parks before real concrete's poured, and solve some of the issues that until now you've not been able to, which would be line of sight. Oh, is there a bathroom nearby? Can people see it from anywhere in the park? And just in case, that kind of stuff. So I think that you know, in the way that we were talking with Marufa and with Jeannie about kids collaborating with the astronauts and with other kids, there's like dimensions here, you know, back to Taryn's theme, where, you know, if we've got kids running virtual space missions together from different countries, that's way beyond pen pals, and hopefully it creates bonds that last a lifetime. So thanks, Bao, for sharing some of those dimensions. So now we're moving into we're really going to get our hands dirty with our laser cut wood and stuff. But Taryn, if we can hold off just slightly on that, I want to like bring out our brainstorm deck. So does everybody have, or the people who got the kits, you've got a brainstorm deck. And this is just for brainstorming new ideas. And we would love everybody to participate now. So we'll just like, you know, hopefully call on everybody randomly. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, really, but we sure would appreciate it. So what we do first, and this will be about like 5-10 minutes, unless we really get going with some ideas that we all want to explore. So we'll use our chat, we'll talk. But the way this deck works, so first off, pull out your cards, and there's 3. So this is a deck that I created with a fellow teacher at Punahou. And there's 3 types of cards here. We call this mission, feature, and it's a brainstorming and pitching game. And so I think maybe I forgot to announce or mention, you know, my background is an entrepreneur, and I serve at Punahou as the director for the CASE Accelerator for Student Entrepreneurship. So it all ties back to thinking of new ways to innovate and be entrepreneurs. So the decks don't come sorted. You got to sort it. So we'll do that first. Put all your mission cards together, right? So mission ones are this color. The back side of all cards are the same. This is the back side of the card. Here's the front side. So just make a pile in front of you of all your orange mission cards. You can put them all face up. One of them is blank, and that's just for you to write down your own idea for a mission. Okay, so let's see. It's taking me a little bit longer. Okay, now I've gotten that done. So next thing, all your feature B cards. And so both the feature A cards and the feature B ones have the same sort of color scheme, but one at the top says feature A and one says feature B. So just make a pile of your feature A's. And I'll just keep yakking while we do this. I feel that like being playful, you know, playing with cards and that sort of thing helps get the brainstorming going and leads to new ideas. And then you do it with people, and then it's a multiplying effect. Okay, so I've got my cards sorted. I hope everybody has their cards sorted. All right, so now you just take your cards. So here's my feature B deck. I'm putting it face down because you're going to surprise yourself. All right, take your feature A card deck separately, put it face down in front of you. Your mission ones all face down. Okay, so now folks, what we do is we pull one card from each pile and you make a hand of 3. All right, I just pulled my mission card, and I just pulled my feature A, and I just pulled my feature B. Okay, so here's my thing. And if we were all in person, we'd be doing this in teams, and we could try and break out rooms, but let's just do it this way. We can collaborate across the video. So with your team, you would have like a minute for the team of 3 of you before we force you to get up in front of everybody to dream. What is the mission of an app you would create that has this mission that you pulled and that uses these 2 features? Right? So it's just, you've randomized an app that you are the software developer. You're making this thing to change how an industry operates. Okay, so I'll do an example of mine, and then I'm going to start calling on people, and I'll start with the people who should be ready for it. Mr. Taryn Loveman, Jeannie, you're always ready. Gabriel, Bo, and then Marufa, I'd love to hear from you. Kathy, oh, I know you've got some great ideas. And you know what, you don't have to be wedded to, if you really don't like your feature A or your feature B, swap in a different one, or you want a different mission. This is your launch pad, like that rocket. So you go zooming off in the direction you want and just pitch us back a great idea. So I'll kick things off. I'm just gonna do it real time here. Create a new sport in the real world that uses augmented reality. If there's a new sport in the real world that uses augmented reality, that's my mission. So one of the features is you have to fly through stuff. I already know. Then you have to rent space in the virtual world. Ah, great. Okay, I have it. So Gerard had a wonderful facility where you go in and you share a virtual reality experience with your family or friends. It's an immersive escape room. And once the pandemic's done, hopefully he's going to open that back up. So here's what I'm thinking. The new sport is actually Quidditch from Harry Potter. And you put on, I think it should be augmented reality, because if you're in virtual reality and everyone's running around doing sporty stuff, you might collide. So you put on the goggles and it overlays, and you have to have the broom and you're trying to chase the ball, right? So that's the fly through kind of thing. You're zooming around and maybe there's like the floor beneath you is actually, you're flying in the air. So you are running around a room, but the floor beneath you makes it feel like you're high up in the air. So that's the fly through thing. And then rent space in the virtual world. I'm gonna twist it. You have to rent time in Gerard's facility. Boom, that's mine. That's my pitch. So who's got one that they have sort of an idea for? They're not quite sure. We can brainstorm together, or I can pick on one of the people who should be ready. Or Lorraine, do you want to give it a go? We can help you figure out yours. You're muted. Wait, Lorraine, you're muted.
Oh, I'll pass right now.
Oh, you're gonna pass. Okay, Bronson, how about you, sir? Come on, pull out some cards. Be brave, and we'll do it with you.
Okay, aloha everyone. I'm here with my wife Katie, celebrating 15 years. It's just an amazing time to hear what's happening at Punahou. I'm quite jealous of Bao that you get to have this kind of an experience. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and people most well known me for being Uncle Clay's nephew at Uncle Clay's House of Pure Aloha. And so just a note on that, some of the ideas I'm really just thinking about is how to bring Pure Aloha into the world through these technologies. Because to me, the house that we've created as a brick and mortar shave ice shop is just an experience that, is in the physical, but how can we share that same experience in the virtual world anywhere. So anyways, let's play the game. And my mission is to create a new way to step into the world of your favorite film. And the two features are to overlay a projection into the real world and to feel the motion on your body through haptics.
Awesome. So yeah, haptics is when you get force feedback from stuff. So like if you're gripping something, you feel that it's there. It's sort of like pantomiming with you. Yeah, cool. Do you have some thoughts? I think we all want to brainstorm with you for House of Aloha. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Well, let's do that next. But go for it.
Well, let's play a little game right now and imagine going to the House of Pure Aloha as that film.
That sounds great. I love it.
How do we use an overlay of projection into the real world? So, and that you could feel the motion on your body. So what if you wanted to eat a virtual shave ice in your house? We'd project the shop into your own home, and we'd have these technological elements where you could almost feel like you're touching things in the shop. Gloves, or you could almost, let's take it multi-sensory, and you can smell the sense of the kitchen and the sounds of being there. And why not throw in Uncle Clay, who's sharing some Pure Aloha, sitting down on the bench over there, and you can go shake his hand or give him a beautiful pure aloha hug.
That's fantastic. I love it. We got to build that. So, yeah, I mean, that's so great, Bronson. One of the things that we aim to do through the CASE Accelerator is connect with real world opportunities. And so I think there are students, there's lots of students, hopefully as talented as Bao is quite talented, who would love to help prototype something like that. And we could run a hack where we do that. You come in, you inspire, we all get a little bit of shave ice, and we dream these things up. And we do these sort of design challenges with aromas, for example, native species. We have people sniff the scent and mix their own. So yes to all that. I love it. That's more than I was hoping for. You rock. And I think people are throwing into the chat some of the they're starting to collaborate with you with ideas. Aaron Miley says, Uncle Clay. I think that was like, put him in there. And you'll see like some of the things that you were requesting about the movie Into Your Place, bringing the House of Aloha to wherever you are in the world. We are looking to do that. And so that's a perfect segue into what Taryn will share with us and what we'll be doing there. But I keep teasing the approach of that, and we got to get there. But is there anybody else who so we've played the game, we've seen it work. Thank you, Bronson, for that. Is there anybody else bold enough in tomorrow's address by Jean Case? She'll be talking about being brave, being fearless. That's her best-selling book, and she's a fabulous speaker. So is there anyone here fearless who wants to share either what's come up for them through the cards or like an idea that they have? Please speak up.
I have one, Mark.
Yes.
All right.
Aaron, jump in.
All right. So the mission is help others understand someone else's point of view or perspective. And then feature A is overlay a projection onto the real world. So augmented. And then feel the motion in your body, haptics. So I thought it could be, you could kind of go with different sensory experiences. So someone that has a particular kind of way of seeing the world based on their eyes, whether that was nearsighted or farsighted, or if they had limited vision, that the augmented reality of your world, you would be able to see through their eyes. And then also you could have objects that are placed in your environment. And then as you reach out for them, to notice the difference in if they were nearsighted or farsighted, or if they had other kinds of eye conditions, what that would be like.
Oh,
so you might judge your distance differently.
Yeah.
So you could get a sensory, like an actual somatic experience of their world, as well as a visual. You could also do it with audio, like with hearing.
Oh,
Awesome.
I love that. Yeah. So Dr. Kaplan, I don't know, I think you're not with us right now, but boy, that would really connect for him. So that's like, so this is, and back to the theme that Taryn established, you might want to address this too, but this like creating empathy through augmented reality. So it's seeing how others see the world, what they experience. Fantastic. Taryn, do you have some thoughts too?
I think we heard sort of like the medical or psychological approach to that, but I think there's also like extreme power and a cultural approach of this. So I think there's just a fantastic potential for kids from different places around the world, and also places very close, like on Oahu, who are essentially, you could say, from different cultures, to like have that chance to bridge a gap in a virtual world, where I think like some of the barriers that exist in a physical world and some of the dangers and fears that sort of pervade our modern society can be screened, and to have like these pure interactions between kids, safe interactions between kids, where there's this exchange of culture in a virtual space. So I think the empathy potential is massive.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, Taryn. Just like, so if we went from more of the understanding a point of view, or like a cultural perspective on something that maybe for one person and one culture thought, oh, this is perfectly an innocuous situation, but wouldn't be an innocuous situation in another culture, depending on who you are. So
Aaron,
an example. Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead. No, go Taryn.
Oh, I just say like example could be like a point of view exercise where you have two kids looking at, like, let's say something like a rock, And one kid goes, "That's a rock. It's composed of these different minerals. I know, I learned about this in a science class." And the other kid says, "No, that's my ancestors. I learned how I'm related to that rock, and that rock's part of me, and I'm part of that rock. And there's no difference between people and that rock. We're all part of a similar system." And so then you use the virtual reality for them to explore that in an exciting, interactive way. So it goes beyond the conceptual conversation. It has like a visceral, emotional impact. And that's why I think there's so much power in the technology, because there's no physical limits. You want to go back in time 50 years? Let's go. You want to go in space? Let's go. You want to go inside the rock? No problem. You want to talk to my kapuna who can tell you more? Let's go talk to him. So there's just no limit.
I love that.
Along those lines, folks. So there's a professor, Fox Harrell at MIT, who so he's invited Punahou to collaborate. He runs augmented, or he calls it the Virtuality Center at MIT. I'm serving on his board, and he created with a famous journalist a piece called "The Enemy." And so I just sent a link that's to the museum piece at MIT, but it's also an app you can download, and it's really visceral, Aaron. So you see standing in the room with you, photoreal, a Hamas fighter, and then an Israeli soldier in the other end, and you walk back and forth between them, and they're each talking, and the voice is actually the real interviews that the journalist did with these people, and you hear their different perspectives on what's happening. And there's something about having both sides in the room together with you that, like, your mind can't stop it. It feels like the real presence, and it just gets you to reconsider, like, wrong and right, all sorts of things. So it's very, very powerful, as you guys are saying. And there's so much, and for me, one of the really exciting things, as I said, I have been an entrepreneur, and so I started a games company, grew to be the world's largest, 1,000 employees. So my sake, had a lot of fun doing that. But I was like, for me, the big thrill is to be amongst educators, and we have a lot of them here in this workshop together. And it's like, when we bring some of these ideas and concepts and technologies to kids like Bao, and then they come back with these beautiful, new, completely blow your mind kinds of things, there's nothing better in life, right? We want this rising generation to invent better ways for us. And so I'm hoping that our session today gets us all excited to help others invent new ways and stuff too. So that's kind of a theme for Taryn, the voyaging, and what you're planning with that program, what's already happening. And then we have a first step that we've been doing with augmented reality that feeds into that. Do you want to get us going with our kit and talk a little bit about the programs?
Sure. So that laser cut VAA that's in your kit, I think Mark's holding up there. Those are the pieces anyways. And fair warning, your hands are going to get dirty. It's the residue, the soot. So just know that, and you have to wash your hands. So sorry. You can either have dirty hands and wash your hands at the end, or just wipe the edges of the wood before you start. But they were cut on our laser at school, actually by kids. And so it's actually just burnt wood that you're touching. So there's nothing strange about it, about the material. But those kits actually started as a way for, during COVID, to have a hands-on experience at home for our kindergarten class. So we had those voyaging va'as designed and sent home as a kit to the kids. And so that was a way for them to build and sail a va'a at their home during COVID. So on the other side of it is we are actually have a voyaging program at school right now, and we have courses and clubs, and we've constructed a full-size va'a. Her name is Kama'ola, roughly translating the living spirit of a child. And she's a granddaughter canoe of Hoku, and she will probably be launching this summer. And so that's a K-12 experience that all the different grades have been coming down to be part of that cultural journey at every aspect of that program. So that's a voyaging program that we're launching. And so this project in this kit is sort of a marriage of those two things, where we said, well, let's upgrade this kit a little bit and make it a little bit closer to actual dimensions and have a little bit of rigging and a little more detail so that they could use it at the high school level. And now we've added AR targets to the exterior of the hull so that as you interact with the hull, you can see a video about the Va'a, and you can also sort of see have a virtual, as if you're standing on a deck of an actual Va'a at sea. These are just sort of like prototypey first rounds of how you could interact with something like this, but you could have all kinds of targets on there and all kinds of triggers do all kinds of things. But we were just trying to show a proof of concept of how this small kit could then be like a gateway to a giant world. So it's both hands-on, but it's also augmented, it's also virtual, and it's more importantly to me, a cultural link, a way for like all this incredible knowledge that exists in Hawaii, all this cultural knowledge, all the sustainability knowledge that the world needs so badly. We can get this out to people that normally couldn't journey to Hawaii and have an experience on a Va'a, but now they can have a virtual experience on a Va'a and build one, a small one in their own hands and be inspired. So that's sort of the origins of this project and how we got to this kit.
It's fantastic. So Taryn, could you share in the chat the beautiful video that was created about the project on campus? And I think right now let's take time to build the canoe, and we have step-by-step instructions in the kit. But one of us could lead along the way if you wanted to, Taryn or Bao. I think people are probably tired of just hearing from me. Taryn, do you have yours with you? Or no, yeah, let's see. Or Malia, do you want to pipe in?
Malia, why don't you take it?
She wrote the instructions, so she's quite, she might have a little bit of connectivity issue.
Sure, yeah. Hopefully everyone can hear me and it's coming through well. Yeah, the kit instructions, hopefully we tried our best to beta test them and make sure that they're very thorough with the images and stuff. If you need help, feel free to speak up and we can try to troubleshoot through video. It looks like Gabriel's showing us him building it. Thank you.
Oh, Gabriel, you're the man.
Too. Live tutorial. Yeah, just I'd say just go at it and see if everything seems straightforward to you, and if it doesn't, feel free to speak up or put it in chat and we can help troubleshoot. And looks like Bao's got his finished one already.
I know, we've got all stages here. Malia, if you want to read aloud the instructions, and then Gabriel, if you can just like, if we go step at a time, and then Gabriel can just show us how he's doing it. I'm talking to Mr. Hands there, Gabriel. Oh, by the way, you know, we could do an augmented reality for this is how you assemble the really the SpaceX rocket engine or something, right? Yeah, like the owner's manual now changes, right? Like some Punahou recent grad should be pitching Elon. I'm gonna try to get him here next year to change what an owner's manual is, and you can just like, yeah. But anyway, so Malia, hit it, please.
Sure. And for those of you who don't have the kit, I did add the images that trigger the app experiences into that folder that Bao shared previously. So go ahead and give that a try if you'd like. For everyone else who's still building, you'll notice on the kit pieces, they each also have the Hawaiian names. So that's what we tried to stick to throughout the instructions. Yeah, Gabriel's showing, so it says, you know, Manu Ihu for the back and then Manu Hope in the front. So you can refer to those if you ever get confused about which part is being talked about. The first thing I think it would be good to start out with is we're going to build the base of it. So that's the whole pieces, and then the whole pieces get connected. Thank you, Gabriel, as he's showing with the Iako pieces. And they basically, there's 5 of them, they slide in. If you have a partner, it sometimes is helpful if they hold up the 2 whole pieces and then slide it in. But just as Gabriel's showing, you can also do it solo. But you want to make sure that those really get stuck in there, because those are going to be that very firm base that keeps everything held together. Yeah, as he's showing, you just slide them in there pretty simply. Yeah, it looks great. Kathy doing an awesome job too. Looks like people are really getting it. So next, as he's showing, you're going to take the pola, which is the platform that Gabriel is showing kindly right now. And you're gonna stick it just on top. Each of those grooves, each of those holes in the pola, they slide on to the Iako pieces. And then you just wanna make sure that the nut and bolt that you'll be adding in that same step 4 is facing upwards. So it can be easier sometimes when the pola is off to just put in the nut and bolt first, but you can also put it on as Gabriel's showing when it's already fastened onto the hole pieces. But yeah, you're just gonna thread that little bolt and nut on so that they're facing up. That's what you're gonna be able to use the paddle later on in the later steps. That's what the paddle gets fixed to. Go ahead and do that.
Here's a live shot of the inspiration Va'a Kamaola here on our campus. And in the foreground, there's a hale that the kids have also made as part of this beautiful cultural opportunity going on here. I don't know how well you can see because I'm a little bit far away, but she's a twin-hulled waging canoe right out there.
I love how we're bringing so many dimensions from different places to all of this and sort of collaborating on ideas and building together. I think this is great.
Yeah, so as you're putting that together, everyone, it looks like we're all kind of getting at different steps, but that's okay. Just double check, that the directions are correct. So the nut and bolt side of your pola, your platform, you want that to be at the back of your canoe, and the back of your canoe is the sides of the hole that say Manu Hope. So exactly as Gabriel is showing it right now. Because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Taryn, the front of the canoe is slightly longer because that part of the canoe is what helps the canoe thrust itself through the waves as it goes forward. So they're not, they look similar, but they're not totally identical. So you do want to make sure that the Manu Hope side, the back side, is in line with the nut and bolt of the pola, which is where your paddle will be sticking off the back of the canoe.
I love seeing our young collaborators over in Teresa's spot. Looks like they're getting it. You guys rock. Way to be. Are you having fun? Is it good? Are you having fun, guys? Is it coming together? Teresa and gang? Yep.
I think so. I'm not sure if they have the front and the back set up right. So, you got it?
Yeah, looks good. Looks good.
It's putting a smile on Terrence's face. So this is a good thing about when we're all facing each other like this, which is often hard to do in real life, right? If you're sitting, depending on how you seat. So I like that.
Yeah, it looks like people are getting it and moving on to the paddle step. So that's awesome. You put your paddle together, the slightly wider side of the paddle, that's the one that's facing down, that would be hanging into the water. You set your canoe afloat. Yeah, as Gabriel's showing. And then you'll notice he has that rubber band there. That was in step 4 and 5, I believe. You just stretch it and that rubber band acts to hold the paddle down so that it has maneuverability without falling off the canoe.
Taryn, can you tell us about the real binding that happens on a ship?
Yeah, so I'm not going to pretend I'm a cultural expert, but the lashing on Hawaiian va'a is an art form. It's a true art form, and so it takes a lot of learning and practice, and there's different lashings appropriate to different kinds of connections. And it's a good example of what we're trying to do in design technology and engineering, which is show indigenous construction methods, practices, and quite frankly, genius for what it is. And yeah, I think the incredible, lashings that are taking va'a across the ocean with hand done ties is just amazing. I'm going to try and get over to this structure over here and show you guys lashing, but I don't know if I'm going to get out of range of the Wi-Fi, but I'm going to give this a shot. Because I think the art form speaks better for itself than me talking. So let's see. Here's the lashing on the which is actually very similar to the lashing on our va'a. So you can see it's a very intricate pattern. See if I can make it to the va'a, to Kamaola herself.
We're with you on your journey so far.
Okay, here's Kamaola herself. Let's see if here's the lashing on an example.
Totally with
lashing.
you.
So here's the kind of a close-up of what you're building in smaller scale. You can see the kids here at school have done all this hand lashing. It's taken months to learn how to do this. Let's see. I'm underneath now, on the underneath side, so you can really get a close-up of that lashing. Okay.
Thank you so much, Taryn, as people are saying in the chat, for taking us on the tour. So Malia, do we want to finish up our steps?
Sure, yeah, it looks like people do seem to be getting it. So we'll be doing our lashing now, which is a much simplified version, not quite as accurate as it could be, but hopefully is manageable for everyone. So the main lashing that happens is to put together our mast. So the mast comes in two pieces, the kia and the opea, and you're basically going to lie those on top of each other. The kia is the shorter one that'll go on top, and then you can use the twine that we included, the thicker twine, that's the lighter colored one, to lash those two pieces together. You can put it through the holes, or honestly, however is easiest for you to tie it, just to secure them tightly together. And they will be staggered, so you will see that those crossbar pieces, there's one slightly above the other. They don't overlap completely. And once you've got that together, you can move on to the third mast piece, which is the boom piece, the pe'epe. And then you're going to start attaching the sail to it. It's kind of clearest if you have the photos in your printout to look at how the sides attach to each piece. So the shortest side of that little sail cloth triangle is going to get tied to the boom piece. And you're going to want to use the thinner, the dark brown twine for this, because that will fit best through the holes. And be pretty careful, because the sail, it can be a little fragile. You don't want to rip it. So just be very gentle with it as you tie that together to the boom piece.
So Ms. Dudek, I just want to make sure that you're able to download the app and you guys have your kit. You're all good. I saw the email that came through.
We gave up on the app for the moment. We'll try again later.
Oh, do you have an iPhone, or do you have Android?
It's an Android, but I think it's kind of old.
Oh, okay. Oh,
That's okay. We'll try later.
okay.
Kylie, I see you're here, so you're welcome to jump in if you'd like to add in about any aspect of our project.
So we only have a little bit of time left. I want to be sure that we get to check out the augmented reality. So it'll actually trigger even if you don't have the complete model done. And so you just go into your app and fire it up, choose Canoe. It's the last one that we have yet to explore. And so with that, you can go to one of the images at the front of the ship at the Manu Ihu. and hold it up to that design, and you should get an experience. So again, this is a prototype, and it doesn't always work perfectly. We've included stickers that give you a higher contrast. And so Gabriel's showing us how it does work. So there are two experiences here, and one will trigger a video, and you'll sort of have to back out to see where the video appears. The other is a room size, a life size. Gerard, it's life size, right?
Yeah,
It's
kind of, it's life size. I mean, you'll see that. Let's not say anything before people see. Everybody see that.
Okay, so with this particular design, be ready to back up and explore something that barely fits in your room. So that's that design. And if you, so yeah, you guys can pull the trigger from my screen. Let's see if that works for you. For those who don't have the kit at home, you can also get it from what was shared in the chat.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble triggering it from any of these images, I think, Gerard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it is linked to the size. So try to keep it on your screen about, I think they're around 1 inch by 1 inch or 1 inch by 2 inches. And that might work the best.
Oh, I like Bronson's going out there, so he gets a lot of room to make it come to life. So you could do a life-size shop. That'd be fun. Yeah, mine is huge. And it stays there for you, and you can just walk around and explore apart from your model. So the bigger one springs from the smaller. And that's sort of our grand finale. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody.
Malia, can you paste the link to the app one more time? Oh, thanks. You're ahead of me.
So, and we have the video that plays, and there's a gorgeous soundtrack. Unfortunately, in order to get it to Apple in time, the soundtrack's not playing, but I think Taryn shared the full video that you can play on a regular desktop machine or whatever. Yeah, great, Gabriel. Wow, there it's showing really nicely, but it gives you ideas for how you can have artifacts and bring things to life. So I was thinking of what Steve Case was saying this morning about the Smithsonian and bringing the museum to people. And here's a way to do that in a very lively, immersive way, I feel. But I want to say a big thank you to everybody who participated in the workshop. Thank you for going on this wild, crazy ride with us. I hope it stimulated some new thoughts for you. I also really want to thank Bao for sharing with us the things that he's been pioneering, and I hope you continue doing that, and I hope you will be in the pitch to the pros next year with cool new ideas. Taryn and Gabriel, Gerard, thank you so much for bringing all these dimensions to our workshop today, and Malia for making sure everything happened. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to meet new friends, Bronson, Marufa, others, Ben, and I hope we continue collaborating. Kathy, we got to make those the horticultural exploration wherever you are in the world. Just add water. So I don't know. I think that's it from us. Aaron, thank you. Jeannie, everyone who participated, really, really appreciate it. It's been a lot of work, but it's so fun. It's what I like to call hard fun. So thanks, folks.
Mahalo.